Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live, powered by.
Please hold for the satisfying crack of an Olipop can. Did you hear it?
It was weak. No, it's weak, man. You just got to
Wow.
make up your own noise. Just go.
Brutal.
Shh. All right. Yes.
That's so disappointing.
We're powered by Olipop, and Olipop you can find in Oklahoma and obviously in the state of Texas or whatever you have, wherever you live. You're guaranteed to find them at Sprouts, Whole Foods, Target, Walmart, or you can go to drinkolipop.com. You can type in the promo code CHAMPU20 and get 20% off of one of the most magnificent 15 flavors of good for you Coke. Not like the sugar-filled Cokes of yesteryear. This is the good stuff, depending on your flavor. So whether you like cola, whether you like, which one is that?
This is root beer. Root beer, in my opinion,
root beer
top
good.
three flavor. We were sitting here not 10 minutes ago in the pre-show, and I actually, from this very Papazon chair, ordered a 12-pack of the newest flavor, ginger ale, which just hit stores last week. So if you're a ginger ale person, give it a try.
I guess the question is why are we ordering whenever we are sponsored by? Why didn't they give us first dibs on the taste? Huh?
That's a great question.
Huh?
I should have lobbied for
Olipop. Where are you at? Olipop? No. So seriously, thank you, everybody, for Olipop for sponsoring us. But hey, guess what? One, we have not had a YouTube live since the big announcement on Saturday. We'll get to that. And two, and I do this every year, I'm going to do it again. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right. In my best big man voice, how we do this? It's football time in Oklahoma. We all love that. We love it. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. It's that time of year, and we are excited about it. It is the best time of year. I'm ready for the fall foliage. I'm not going to lie. Not only that, I'm actually ready to see what's going to happen this Saturday. I'm ready to see all the young guys. It's going to be 97 degrees. It's going to be in the mid 80s kickoff, but by the time the game's over, it's going to be in the mid 90s, and it's going to be hot. It's going to be scorcher. You know, you're going to get to see a lot of different bodies out there on the field. And there's a lot of guys we're excited to see, Parker. Like, we are excited to see, obviously, we're excited to see Deshaun McCall. He's going to be coming in for Justin Harrington, who's starting ahead of him at the Cheetah. We're excited to see Gentry Williams get his first start. We're excited to see Peyton Bowen. He's going to be coming in various positions, whether it's Cheetah, whether it's free safety, strong safety. They have him playing so many positions. He's also going to be playing in the return game. We're excited to see Jackson Arnold. I think that is the most obvious of the obvious. PJ Adebawore. We're excited to see Trace Ford, Rondell Bothroyd, DeJohn Terry, Jonah Laulu in a new position, Jaron Kanik at the mic. I mean, the list could go on and on. I know I'm forgetting. Did I say PJ Adebawore? I said PJ Adebawore, right?
You did.
I think that, yeah, I mean, can't forget about him. I'm excited to see Austin Stogner back in a Sooners uniform on a Saturday.
That'll be fun.
That is cool.
Like, that's not cool. A storyline that probably dominates the headlines this week, but man, especially for me, being down there on the field the way I am for every single game, it's just, because there comes a time at which, you get to know these guys, you get used to seeing them on a weekly basis, and there comes a time where they all move on, and it kind of hits you. Oh, wait, I'm never going to get to take photos of this guy again. I'm never going to see him wear the crimson and cream again. And we all kind of had that impression with Austin Stogner after the 2021 season, but here he is back for one final ride and the unquestioned alpha dog in the Oklahoma tight end room. So, look, it ought to be a walk in the park this weekend for Oklahoma. As far as the actual game goes, I don't know that there are a ton of compelling narratives here, but if you're strictly looking at this game as an opportunity, a proving ground for maybe some of the guys, and I think this is particularly highlighted in the running back room, guys like Marcus Major and Tawi Walker that maybe face an uphill battle to earn snaps for the middle and later portions of the season. what they do or don't do in non-conference play could go a long way towards dictating their usage the rest of the year. And I think that's part of the reason why you see guys like Major and Walker first string on the depth chart, because that depth chart doesn't change my opinion, Brandon, of what the backfield timeshare looks like in the long term down the road. But
Yeah.
I think about Marvin Mims in 2020, what he did as a true freshman, CJ Colden, what he did last year in 2022. Two great examples of guys that didn't start out the year with a ton of opportunities, but they capitalized on the opportunities that they were given, which in turn turned into more opportunities and more opportunities, to the point where by season's end, those guys were well-established starters and impact performers. So I just wonder, is there anybody that's going to jump out on the radar this Saturday or to a broader degree throughout non-conference play, somebody that maybe we didn't expect up front to be a regular contributor for this football team on either side of the ball, but that ends up playing a pretty significant role?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like somebody like that. I think Makari Vickers is the one that comes to mind more than anybody, because we've heard about him quite a bit, but you've heard about Josiah Wagner so much more. And with his issue, I don't want to say what has been ailing him this week and last week, but it's in the nether region, if you will.
Well, okay,
and and so I'm trying to not say it without, I'm trying to say it without saying it, so that I don't get accused of saying injury stuff, obviously. So if you understand what I'm saying, you understand
yes,
what I'm saying.
we all
Parker
understand. Yes.
Yeah.
Message
Okay.
received.
So, yeah. And then obviously, I don't know if Gavin Sawchuk's going to, I'm not saying he's going to be out, because I think he's trying to get back. And it's really obvious. Everybody's known what's ailed him most of fall camp, and that's been off and on hamstring issues, the same stuff that ailed him last year. And when you have speed guys, it gets tight. Your hamstrings tighten up a lot faster than most normal football players or basketball players. Yeah. Sprinters have hamstring issues constantly, and he's a sprinter. Like, by trade, that's what that guy is. You're talking about the national record for the indoor 60, was it 60-yard dash?
60 yard, yeah.
Yeah.
60 meter,
he can freaking fly. 60 meter, yeah, whatever. And so that bothers him more than anything else. Gentry Williams has battled some of that over the last few years as well. Jaden Rowe has. But with Josiah Wagner, obviously what ailed him this past week or so is different. He's had shoulder problems this fall camp as well. So there's been some off and on things, and I was told this about Josiah Wagner. The guy is going to be a superstar. He just has to put on the weight to be able to put up with the banging.
And that's the thing, man, is Gentry
Williams had the same issue last year. Same issue.
Yeah, we were out there on the practice field a couple nights ago doing post-practice interviews. And, of course, the corner group, especially the younger corners, they stayed out there working late. Josiah, Makari Vickers, Jacoby Johnson. I think Kendall Dolby was out there as well. And, man, that's the one thing that really jumps out at you about Josiah is if you didn't know that dude was the dog that he is, you would not guess it by looking at him. You think that's a walk-on, because he's just real slender right now. He's real slightly built. Now, that obviously hasn't been a deterrent, but in order for you to feel more comfortable about that guy being able to handle his business against Power 5 receivers week in and week out, and also the durability factor too, right? You're naturally going to be more durable the more muscle mass, the more bulk you put on. And so when Josiah Wagner makes the jumps in those departments, that's where I think you're really going to start to see a special player materialize in Norman.
No, I agree. I think that's what differentiates him from Makari Vick. And I had a source to tell me that. It's like, look, Josiah Wagner is a dog. It's just the fact that right now he throws his body around and it gets a little banged up against some bigger, older guys. Where the difference is Makari Vickers is a dog, but
he's 6'1", 190.
He's 6'1", 190. Yes. So that's why you have those two. They're a lot alike, but there's a lot of differences where Josiah Wagner is also more of a mental player. And there's nothing, that's not to say that Makari Vickers isn't a smart and cerebral guy, because he is. If he wasn't, they wouldn't have him in the 2 deep. I promise you that. They are too, pun intended, they are too deep to have him in the 2 deep if he wasn't as smart as he is. So if that makes sense, which also means that OU is 2 deep. Is that a lot of 2 deeps? I mean, that's their phrase. So, but that's a position I'm interested in. I'm interested in the linebacker position as well. And I know everybody wants to harp on the D-line. We've talked about that so much. Like everybody that we've talked about during the offseason, guess what? They're the guys. You have the starters and the oars. Every one of them that we've talked about all offseason, that's where it's at. And the weird part is remember, everybody wanted to count out Ethan Downs. Where's he on the depth chart?
First team. Well, co-first team.
Co-first team, yeah.
I mean, Trace Ford, man. Trace Ford earning.
Well, we've heard that dude is going to be a freak.
Well, but that it lends credence to the notion that he's fully healthy, which I think that was the big question mark for a lot of fans was, is this guy healthy? Is he even a shadow of what he was during his halcyon days at Oklahoma State? And the answer to that question, at least so far, appears to be yes. Yes, he's that dude.
We got to see it on the field, obviously. And there's a lot of hyperbole following his name around right now because of his upside. What everybody saw him at Edmond Santa Fe, he was an impossible guy to block. What everybody saw of him during his healthy periods at Oklahoma State, he was almost impossible to block. And so you have a lot of people that'll come out there, and I had 2 people this week say the exact same thing to me about him. And this is hyperbole. I don't know if they generally meant it, but when 2 people say it, I'm starting to think that people actually believe it in the Switzer Center. And yet I still don't believe. I don't believe it. And I hope I'm wrong. But everybody and their dog that I've talked to about him has said he's going to have 10 sacks this year. And I'm just like, come on, man. That's exactly your expression, exactly my expression when I got told that by 2 different people. And I was like, do y'all really believe this? Or are y'all just trying to hype this dude up because he looked good during fall camp? Because that's all American stuff.
That's a lot of sacks, Brandon. That's a lot of sacks. Like, when was the last time anybody at the University of
Ronnie
Oklahoma?
Perkins had 7.5 sacks in 2020 in five or six games. He was absurd. Jalen Redmond in half a season in 2019 had 7 sacks or 6.5, something to that extent.
Yeah.
Both of them had half, but they were both in half seasons. Those are the last 2. Well, I guess Nick Benito had 9.
Benito had 9. Benito had 8.
He had 9 in 20.
Isaiah Thomas had 8.5.
Okay.
It was 8.
Okay,
Isaiah
so those
Thomas
are the
had
last.
8.5. Yeah, but I cannot remember the last time a Sooner put up double-digit sacks in a season. Off the top of my head, I cannot. I'm sure it hasn't been. I would assume
Eric Stryker, maybe.
Well, yeah, I was about to say I'm sure it hasn't been decades or anything, but it's been a period of years.
What was Uncle Runquo's highest?
Yeah, Obo. I'm sure if you look back, Obo is probably one
of those guys
help
us out here in the chat.
Pushed, if not eclipsed, that 10 sack barrier. But the point is, to be a pass rusher that prolific at the University of Oklahoma is not something that Sooner fans are used to. So if Trace Ford comes anywhere close to living up to that billing, OU fans are going to be very pleased with the state of the pass rush as a whole in 2023, because Trace Ford won't be the only guy getting after the quarterback either.
Yeah. Somebody football. And I love this because I totally get the joke. And if you weren't joking, football, I'm sorry, but he said, oh God, here we go. Hey, David Stone committed. So all the super chats. Goodness gracious. We really do appreciate y'all. But football said Trace Forward will have 4 sacks on Saturday. A little shade being thrown at a player last year.
Oh man.
What game was that happened? What game was that happened last year? That was Was that Reggie that did that last year?
I think Reggie had 3 against Kent State.
3 against Kent State. So that I think that's what he was joking about. Maybe I don't know. All right, go for super
Chats are
chat because we
popping
got
off.
some big
So
ones.
let's hit him. Fresh Prince dropped $10 and said, "Hey Parker, keep making the Mizzou fans on Twitter sweat about Winery." Well, I mean, the Mizzou fans on Twitter, that's a whole different conversation. That's a wild bunch. But yeah, obviously Oklahoma is still kind of pressing the issue with Williams and Winery, and they'll continue to. The second half of the super chat, though, is question: if we end up getting Dominic McKinley, and we'll go deep into that situation later on too, what are the odds we convince Peyton Pierce to come to Norman? Keep up the great work. Thank you, Fresh Prince 17. I would not count on Peyton Pierce flipping. And I've repeated this sentiment for a couple of months now, but I'll repeat it again. I think something has to go wrong on the Ohio State end. He has to have a reason, because he's got plenty of reasons to come to Oklahoma as it is, given his family situation, his rooting interests as a child, the way that the OU staff pursued him. He's got a lot of reasons to flip to Oklahoma. I think he needs at least one reason to flip from Ohio State. And so I think something's got to fall through on that end in order for that to happen. TJ says, shout out Tristan Lundy, the real one.
I don't know who Tristan Lundy is. What is this Tristan Lundy?
That's the guy that was stirring up OU fans saying, according to sources, Todd Bates will be at Dominic McKinley's game on Friday. I'm predicting him 85% to land at Oklahoma.
Oh my God. Okay. So, hey, real quick on the sack numbers. Thank you to our super chat. You guys rock. Without you guys in the chat, like sometimes we can't sit here and just, Google and try to search it. It distracts us from our job to talk to you guys. So we're glad that you guys can help us out here. Jeremy Beal in 2011 was the last
Jeremy
person
Beal. That's a blast from the past.
Yep. Eric Stryker Obo had 9 in 2016 and 8 in 2017.
So close.
Stryker had 9 and 14. And like you said, I think Benito had 8 or 9 in 2020. So did he have like 7.5 or 8 in 2021 as well?
Yeah, I think he had 7.5 in 2021. Mongo dropped $10 and said, "Game week is upon us. Pink out the palace." Shout out to Ron Vickers. Appreciate your constant contributions and shout outs, Mongo. And then here's Russell Jenkins dropping a C note, as he occasionally does. We appreciate you, Russell. Russell says, "This is my first payment on my Todd Bates apology penance." Well, does that mean it's 500 next week if Dominic McKinley commits?
All right, Graham. Graham Dunbar really wants me to put the cardigan. It's right here. I keep it here just in case. The cardigan stays by. So you don't have to pay me anything. I'll put the cardigan on for you and sweat this one out. So if you want to, I won't deny it, but I'm just telling you don't need to. All right, go for it. I'll put the cardigan on. It's coming on. So let's see here. We got another one that just came in as well. Taylor Pavey might not have one guy with 10 plus sacks, but we might have 3 or 4 with 5 or 6, in my opinion. Also, Parker, did you get my Venmo for fantasy? Lol.
I did get your Venmo. I did get your Venmo, Taylor. You're good. You're in the league. Don't sweat it. Now, obviously, I will be taking your money 4 months from now when I win the league. But until then, we'll have a good time with it.
All right. I guess let's talk Dominic McKinley. We've had a bunch of super chats asking about him.
Don't want to bury the lead too deep, and I think that's the lead.
Right. That is. I mean, OU's kicking their season off and all. Man, daggone, this is hot. They're kicking their season off and all, but, who gives a damn, right? Like, there's recruiting going on. It's funny. People nowadays care more about the players that are going to be on the team than they do the actual team that's going to be fielded. That is the funniest thing in the world, and I love it for what it is, because recruiting is its own little sport nowadays, right? Like, and it's covered like a sport. Like,
very
it's crazy. It's crazy, but it pays the bills, right? All right, so how do I put this? I've talked to several people about this all day. And
Yeah, this has been the day.
yeah, it's
Dominic
been weird,
McKinley has
bro.
been the day.
It's been weird. It all depends on who you talk to. I'm just being straight with y'all. Like, I'm gonna have more on this on OU Insider VIP. So if you want to hop on over there and get your $9 for a whole month and check out what we're like, well, we'd love to have you. Obviously, it's worth it. Got the chat. Jesse's got his stuff. Parker's got his stuff. We have information flowing constantly all day. But I'll have more on it there. But um, it's been a roller coaster, and I mean a freaking roller coaster all day. And I'm not one that's going to sit there, and neither is Parker, that every time we get an update, we're going to post something, like, because the updates change so quickly. When people say recruiting is fluid, it's fluid. Where things stand with this kid seems to change by who he talked to last. And that is not hyperbole. That is a straight fact. It is a 3-team race: A&M, Oklahoma, Texas.
Well,
and I know I've read things about Texas saying, you know what, they know they're not going to get him on Friday. They're good with that. They're going to sign him no matter what. Kind of like how Oklahoma feels about Williams-Nwaneri a little bit. Like, they feel they're going to sign him. They feel they have that opportunity to flip him. There's still confidence there. Whether that's true or not, I'm not in the Williams-Nwaneri recruitment, so I don't know. I'm just repeating what I've been told and what I've read from numerous people on our board and on Twitter and all that type of stuff. There seems to be confidence with Williams-Nwaneri being a Sooner at the end of the day, but he's a Missouri Tiger right now, and that's the facts. It's harder to flip than to get a commitment from him. So you have to keep that in mind too. I'll believe it when I see it. But on the Dominic McKinley front, like, it does seem like it's A&M, OU, and it seems like they just keep taking, trading blows at each other bit by bit. It's like one person feels they lead. Nope, back to Oklahoma. Next, and go ahead. It's just a lot of trash to sift through right now.
Well,
so much
yeah,
trash.
I would say this is a fun one though. Like, some of these recruitments, you just roll your eyes at them at a certain point, but this one has been genuinely fun because it feels like, and it's not really a case of, one side saying one thing and the other side saying another thing. Obviously, there's a bit of partisan confidence on both the Oklahoma end and the Texas A&M end, but there's also a mutual acknowledgement. Hey, we're not entirely sure.
Yes,
Sorry, we're not entirely sure which way this one swings on Friday when he announces. So, man, I mean, we're going on 36 hours leading up to the decision here, and there's no clear indication of where this kid is going to end up playing his college football. And he's done a great job of keeping it close to the vest, not necessarily by design. I think that's just kind of the kid he is. It's kind of the person he is. He's a private type of person. And I know that when A&M is involved in a recruitment, everybody's first thought is NIL. And from what I've come to understand about the McKinley recruitment, yeah, of course, NIL is part of it. He's a 5-star defensive lineman. He's going to get paid handsomely wherever he goes. But that isn't what's going to make this decision for him. This is a very evangelically influenced family. I heard it said from one source, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but I remember somebody telling me, yeah, that kid's been in more church camps than football camps, which, again, like, just whether that's true or not, just kind of illustrates what kind of kid you're dealing with in Dominic McKinley. And so,
which makes you believe Oklahoma's in it, like, just because of that.
And it makes sense on paper, right? That is why Oklahoma is in the market all the way until the bitter end for a 5-star defensive lineman from LSU's backyard in Lafayette, Louisiana, because this is an Oklahoma kid. Whether or not he ends up at Oklahoma is a different matter, but objectively, without question, this is a kid that fits the culture at Oklahoma, kind of like Grant Briggs in that capacity. Like, will they end up at OU? Maybe. There's a strong chance. It's not a given, but what you can say undeniably about those two kids is that they fit the culture. They are hand in glove at a place like the University of Oklahoma. So with that said, obviously the OU culture and this Texas A&M culture, there's a kind of a stark contrast there, right? At least as far as the perception goes. And so I've been back and forth on this one all throughout the week. I came real close. I'll be honest. I came real close to putting in a future cast for Texas A&M on Monday night, just because at that point I was I'd had a few conversations with several sources, all of whom told me, yeah, OU and A&M. And those are the two teams battling it out down the stretch. It's not going to be Texas. It's OU or A&M. And to hear A&M, that was so jarring to me that my knee-jerk reaction was, okay, it's got to be A&M then, because if they're just now jumping into this thing,
yep,
obviously, like, you give a little bit more of an acknowledgement to a team that is suddenly in the top two and wasn't even close to that level before, at least in the eyes of many experts. That's automatically going to send your antenna up, as it were. And so my knee-jerk reaction was, okay, it's probably A&M. Had a few more conversations throughout Tuesday. Really wasn't sure at that point. I'll be honest, started to lean more OU this morning, had a few conversations this afternoon that kind of swung me back towards Texas A&M, which again, man, like, this is, and I know maybe it's not fun for everybody because OU fans want the kid in their class and they'll be disappointed if he's not. Man, this is the roller coaster that is recruiting. And I feel like we've still got another couple of loop-de-loops before this roller coaster comes back to its final destination.
Yeah, there's a world in which the Oklahoma recruits feel pretty good and commits feel pretty good about Dominic McKinley. That I can tell you from where I was at today and what I was hearing, and a couple of the kids that I called just to pick their brain. There seems to be some confidence there. Now, they were also confident in Williams Winery, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. So just like the kids will tell adults what they want to hear, they also tell their peers what they want to hear sometimes, especially when they don't know. I don't think Dominic McKinley is that type of guy. I think the fact that he's a quiet kid and he is very talkative with David Stone gives Oklahoma some hope. When you add that to Todd Bates, when you add that to Brent Venables, when you add that to the fact that, I talked to somebody today at Oklahoma that said JP Lossman and J.R. Sandlin are major players in that recruitment. Like, Mama loves JP and JR. Both of them. And I thought that was interesting. And I know that those two have been really, really strong on, pushing that thing for Oklahoma. So particularly the soul mission narrative and the faith-driven narrative, that's something that they are just driving home. And obviously the NIL, like you said, it's going to be part of this. Everyone says, hey, NIL is not going to be a part of this. That's not what that family's about. Look, I don't care what the family's about or not. They may not take the team that's giving the most money to them, but they're going to take some NIL. You would be absolutely naive and stupid not to. You're going to take something. It may not be the team that's throwing out the most money, but I think at the end of the day, and I wrote this on on our VIP chat on OU Insider, I wrote this down. Somebody asked, what is NIL in play? And like you said, no, it is, but it's not. And I said that exact same thing. I said, look, they're going to take everything, all the pros and cons, are going to put them together. And then they're going to take the NIL for what it is. They're not out there saying, I'm going to go to this school if you give me $750,000 and 2 cars. Or I'm not going to go to this school if you give me $1 million, unless you give me $1 million. for 3 years or 4 years or whatever. Or I'm not going to go to this school unless you're going to give me this or that. They're not doing that. They understand they're going to get paid one way or the other. And now they want to see where Dominic fits. Where does his brother fit? Darius, like, where is he going to fit in all of this? Because that's a very tight-knit family. And wherever he goes, his brother's going to go. Or at least you would think so at this point.
You would very much think so. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting recruitment. And it's been one of those like quiet dramas, right? Like it's almost like a silent film. Like it's not as loud as David Stone or Williams Nwaneri, but yet there's still a lot going on that you all don't know. And it's weird. Like those two other recruitments were out there for everybody to see. This kid is so quiet that when you get information, you kind of know better than to start hurling it out to everybody. Because if you do, it's a good way to, you don't want to be the person that scares off the kid for the team you're covering. That's always a big no-no with our job. That's a good way to get shut out with sources. I can tell you that much. So you just kind of have to lay low in this one and just let it ride out. Now, if I'm an Oklahoma fan, Parker, I take this for what it is. I sit there and I say, hey, it's A&M until it's not, because that seems to be what most people are thinking. But do not be shocked if he picks Oklahoma. Do not be shocked. And that's not a hedge. That's very much how this thing has been going behind the scenes. It's back and forth. It's back and forth. But mostly A&M. A&M's had more of anything else.
Yeah, so it's reminiscent of the Jaden Jackson recruitment, right? Because, and I remember drawing that comparison on Sunday when we podcasted, long before any of this smoke arose with Oklahoma and A&M, just with the reality that we were that close to a decision and there didn't seem to be a clear-cut choice. Now, some would have argued it was Texas, but Texas, and it's sure Texas was the leader for a time there, but I don't think there was ever a time where it felt like, okay, Texas is definitely where that kid is going to go. And so with Jaden Jackson, shoot, I remember, Brandon, 2 days before Jaden Jackson committed, we didn't know. We didn't know for sure. We had an inkling at that point that Oklahoma was making a strong push.
We kind of 2 days before we knew because of what I was, and I told you about it. We got told to be prepared to have a story ready.
Sure. Yeah. But again, we didn't know at that point. It wasn't until the day before.
Just said you better be prepared.
At that point, you had an inclination. The day before, we knew with Jaden Jackson. And it was very much like not out of the blue necessarily, but surprising, because 5 days prior, I don't think many would have guessed that Oklahoma was going to get Jaden Jackson's pledge. So that just illustrates how much can change in the waning hours of any recruitment, especially the recruitment of a 5-star defensive lineman. And though it might be A&M with the edge right now, the slight edge as we sit here tonight, who's to say Oklahoma doesn't turn the tide between now and 3:30 p.m. on Friday afternoon?
Yeah, it's I really wish I knew for you guys. I really did. Like, I wish we had a better way to tell you. Like, we felt good about Oklahoma and David Stone the whole time. We haven't even really talked about that commitment. That was wild. We felt good. Like, I went up there for that one. And I got to tell you, though, I almost didn't get on a plane. One, obviously my wife, we were having the baby shower. She's in her final trim or whatever you want to call it. She's full term or whatever. Yeah. Well, she's full term and, basically 36 weeks at this point. And, we're, trying to figure out if we're going to go. And I was like, dude, I'm not going up there with this hanging in the balance, with everything that I had at stake back here at home. Just everything that was going on with my kids' games and the baby shower and the wife and all that type of stuff. And I get a text early that morning. I put up on the board. I was like, hey, I'm getting on the plane. Well, I got on the plane because I got texted like, you, as far as I know, OU is good to go. As far as I know, OU is good to go. And Parker and I, we talked about it on the drive when I was driving from the hotel too. We were going, is this dude going to pick Miami out of the blue? Like, I got on this stupid plane and he's going to end up picking Miami, because that's what everybody was like. I was getting calls like, it's going to be Miami. I'm like, no, it's not, man. I got told this. And I even got on the board. I was like, man, I keep hearing it's Oklahoma, but there's some people that actually think he might trick some people in Miami. And I think David and his family and everybody did a really good job of building the dramatics to it. And I know some people want to sit there and tell me, and they've shown me some stuff that was kind of proof that David did have Miami. He almost chose Miami after telling Oklahoma earlier in the week, I'm going to Oklahoma. Like, told them that, Parker. Like, hey, we're good. And you felt good all week. And then I remember writing on Thursday, I was just like, or maybe I think it was Thursday. I was like, dude, there's so much Miami buzz. I don't know I'm picking Oklahoma. I'm sticking with Oklahoma because Oklahoma hasn't budged on their confidence, but Miami feels, the people that you talked to around Miami, they were feeling great about it up to that point. And this is like, you're just getting back from Hawaii and you're just going, like, were you shocked when you landed and you were just like, what in the hell's going on with David Stone?
I'll be honest. I kind of could see that whole drama coming. I didn't necessarily. Yeah, I didn't necessarily expect for things to get as tight as they did over the last 24, 48 hours of that process. But when I left the previous Thursday, I kind of could see that coming based on what buzz there was for Miami at that point in time. But man, I feel as though we are obligated to acknowledge the fact that Mario Cristobal and Oklahoma have utterly dominated. Or I'm sorry, Brent Venables and Oklahoma have absolutely dominated Mario Cristobal and Miami.
It's the other way, bro.
Yeah. I was about to say, rewind. Brent Venables has eaten Mario Cristobal's lunch on the trail. Every single guy, without exception, that they've gone head-to-head for in this cycle has ended up at Oklahoma.
And took a Cleveland steamer on his chest during Big 12 Media Days, too, when he said, we're not out there losing. Interesting visual. Middle Tennessee State.
So yeah, class of 24.
Oh, Lord.
Brent Venables owns Mario Cristobal. There you go.
Yes, he has, very much so. Anyways, I apologize. Hey man, he's owned that dude, bro. He's basically, sorry, my dog is in here because my wife and kids are gone and she's gonna go crazy. Yeah, it's been a wild past month. I know for the fans, like for us being business owners and everything, it's been just absolutely berserk. Like, it's been one hell of a roller coaster. People are asking, like, who was Bates referring to whenever he came out, and you don't know who's coming next, and y'all could never guess who's coming next or whatever he said. And I think the point of that was for us not to guess who was coming next.
It's Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy via the portal.
There you go. Oh my God, don't do this. That has been a rumor for like 2 years now, and it has not come to fruition. I'm gonna move the dog out. Go ahead. Talk about something.
Okay, so I'm okay. Oh wow, that was a lot fast. I thought you were gonna get up and like actually walk out.
Yep.
But
no, man, I'm in shorts.
Look at that swivel chair doing its swivel thing.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know who he was talking about. We're talking about Todd Bates here. I don't know who he was talking about at all. Um,
Well, I think it would make sense if you were talking about Dominic McKinley, right? Like that seems to be if you had to put Vegas odds on who Todd Bates was talking about, the Vegas odds would favor Dominic McKinley. Because I mean, Nigel Smith, we're 9 days out from his commitment. Is there any sense of doubt that that guy's going to pick Oklahoma? From where I stand, people I've talked to, there sure isn't. And just knowing Nigel,
I still feel really, I think everybody kind of, but if you're a coach and you don't follow the fact that everybody kind of knows that Nigel Smith, that coach, that people don't, I guess if you're a coach and you don't follow the fact that fans kind of know and the media knows where Nigel Smith is leaning, I guess you could come out and say that and you would think you're, saying this is another, tip of the cap there. And look, if you miss out on Dominic McKinley and you have, let's just put it to this way, guys, like how mad are OU fans going to be if they miss out on Dominic McKinley? If you end up with Jaden Jackson, David Stone, Nigel Smith as your D tackles. Well,
and like realistically, how mad can you be if you don't get Dominic McKinley? Because look, that's a 5-star from Louisiana. And it's very understandable. And some fans aren't going to like this, but this is the reality. It's very understandable to lose a Louisiana kid to LSU, to Texas, or to Texas A&M. LSU for obvious reasons, Texas because they've really made a play into Louisiana the last couple of years, and Texas A&M because, well, they're as close, pretty much as close as it gets to an in-state program that isn't LSU, basically, and that is still P5. And so Texas A&M has that proximity to the state of Louisiana, and you've seen them be able to go to that state and sign elite guys in the past. I think about Jacoby Matthews, the 5-star safety back in the 2022 class. Texas A&M had to duke it out with several heavy hitters down the stretch in his recruitment, and they pulled it off. Obviously, that was the class where they got, and some would say bought, everybody. But Texas A&M has been and will continue to be a player in the state of Louisiana. Oklahoma historically has not really made a ton of inroads down there. Cody Ford was a Louisiana guy. KJ Daniels, obviously they pulled from Louisiana here in the 2024 class, but outside of those guys, it hasn't really been a regular breeding ground for future Sooners. So to get a 5-star guy out of the state of Louisiana, look, if Oklahoma lands him, man, that is the ultimate flex by Todd Bates. And if OU doesn't land him, you know what? First off, finishing second in the era of the transfer portal is never a bad thing. Well, never as bad of a thing as the alternative, which is finishing further on down. And secondly, you gave it your best effort. You gave it your best shot. And at the end of the day, you couldn't make a really, really hard pull out of a territory where you don't have a ton of pre-existing relationships. And that's okay. It's tough, but that's okay. It's understandable.
Yeah, no, I think another guy that we need to really talk about, obviously he's coming in on a official visit, is 4-star defensive end Danny Okoye. I mean, I think Oklahoma's in a really good spot there. I'm going to go up and see him, and I know Miguel Chavis will be there this weekend. You're going to be up going to see Michael Boganowski, who also will be in Norman this weekend. I talked to his dad to reconfirm that, to make sure before. Oh, by the way, there is a full list of this week's visitors, and it is pretty nice. For an 11 a.m. kick, first game of the year, it is pretty dang good, guys. Like, it's a pretty thick list. So if you want that OU Insider, we have it on our board, our VIP board right now. But yeah, Michael Boganowski, I talked to his dad or exchange text. He called me. I need to call him back, but yeah, they're going to be there this weekend. And Coach Hall, Brendan Hall, is supposed to be up there as well. So you'll be there with Coach Hall. Trying to think who else will be out and about. I'm sure DeMarco Murray will probably be in Midwest City or Longview, I would assume,
Yeah,
this
either of
weekend.
those places. I know Bill Beadenbow won't be anywhere, which makes sense because he's got Daniel Akinkumi on an official visit starting Friday.
Right.
Um, and obviously, we really, and it's a name we haven't talked about in quite a while, Brandon. But there's another big ticket visitor coming this weekend that Oklahoma's still got a fighting chance with.
Yeah. Who's that?
Well, I was talking about Terry Bussey.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I was trying to explain my comment earlier about
The
Cleveland Rocks.
yeah, sure. But
Yeah.
it's
So
interesting, man, because obviously you reported on Monday that Bussey was expected in Norman this weekend. And in the aftermath of all of that, I had a couple sourced conversations about Bussey and about where Oklahoma stood. And I'll be honest, I've never really been a believer that Oklahoma ends up with his commitment, kind of like Dominic McKinley. Like, he's never really a guy I've mocked into OU's class. I started to come around on McKinley a little bit. I guess I'm closer in that belief than ever before at this point. But with Bussey, man, nothing about that recruitment has screamed OU to me, especially when you look at the list of other contenders: Texas A&M, Texas, LSU, Alabama. Like, when it comes down to those 5 schools, historically, Oklahoma hasn't won many of those battles. And I'm sure there are a variety of reasons you can chalk up as to why that is. But my line of thinking was always, okay, that's an East Texas kid. He's going to command a strong NIL valuation because he is a composite 5-star. And he's not necessarily a homebody, but likes a sense of familiarity. So Texas A&M and LSU are the 2 programs that make the most sense for that kid, given the combination of proximity and competitive NIL package that they can put together. But Oklahoma, man, they made a big move when he took his official visit in June. We've talked about how much he loves Emmett Jones and how much he loves the soul mission at Oklahoma too. That's a big thing for Bussey. And so after news that he was going to be back in Norman, I looped back around, had a real interesting conversation with one source in particular, one that's very close to Bussey, who told me, yeah, look, A&M and LSU are the top 2 right now. Those are where the safe money lies in his recruitment. But I thought this was a very interesting caveat. But if there is a school that will pull him away from Texas A&M and or LSU, OU is that school. And I would not be shocked at all if he ended up there, because he loves Emmett Jones and he loves the soul mission and he loves the family environment at Oklahoma. Again, sources' words, not mine. Would I be surprised if Terry Bussey ended up at Oklahoma? Yes, I would. I would be surprised. For OU fans, it would no doubt be a pleasant surprise. But this is probably the last shot you're going to get at the kid before he commits. It's probably the last time you're going to get him on campus before his decision is made. It's going to be all hands on deck, especially knowing the outcome of McKinley's recruitment going into this Saturday. A lot of the staff's focus and a lot of the commits in attendance, their focus is going to be geared towards the 2 official visitors in Danny Okoye and Daniel Akinkumi, but also to Terry Bussey, because everybody knows what type of dynamic athlete that kid is. Undoubtedly, without question, one of the best high school football players in the entire country, regardless of position. And you look at his productivity at Timpson High, it is ridiculous. Ridiculous. He can legitimately do it all, and simply a guy that you want on your football team because you'd rather have him in your uniform than have to try and defend him or have him defending you 3-4 years down the line.
Yeah. So he's a special guy. I think the biggest question with Oklahoma, and I'm with you on that front as far as him, I just have never been able to really believe any of that. Like, there's some crazy names that I have at least given Oklahoma at least a small shot at landing over the years, and even in this cycle, when the reality it wasn't that big of a chance. But with Terry Bussey, I just can't. I've been very, very. I don't want to just like almost like I guess agnostic to the fact that I don't want to believe that he can be a Sooner. You know what I mean? Like the belief is not there. I cannot wrap my head around that.
Well, also
And
6 receivers, really?
that's where I'm at, man. Like if he would have committed before, I guess middle of July, okay, maybe I'm on board with that. But since then, I'm just like, you know what? I just can't. Like, what do you do? Like, who do you process out at that point? Or is this just a complete overhaul and you're gonna after the end of the season and you're just gonna go in there and say, hey, you guys that were here appreciate your work. I'm bringing in guys that they're my guys. If you're Emmett Jones, is that what's gonna happen? I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting to see because there's starting to be that little flicker that was just almost a black, like you're in a tunnel. You're starting to kind of see a little light at the end of the tunnel with Bussey and going, okay, maybe there's something to it because he keeps showing up. Just keeps showing up. Like this isn't number one, number two. This is the third time that he's been to Oklahoma since March. Third time. And so I guess you have to start believing it, Parker. Like, I guess we have to start believing it at this point. The good news is the kid talks. Like, he's a really good kid. So we'll have a pretty good gauge. I'll be able to get a hold of him after he visits, and we'll have a pretty good gauge and have an update on OU Insider. So that's the good news. Where do you see Boganowski's coming in? We talked about him a little bit earlier. You're going up to see him. Where do things stand with Boganowski right now?
Well, obviously I'll have a better handle come Friday evening, but we've talked about it. I don't think my opinion has really changed. The longer this lasts, the better things look for Kansas State. But the fact that he's back in Norman this weekend obviously makes it within the realm of possibility that Oklahoma can close this out pretty expediently. I don't really know what hump they got to get over with that kid, to be honest. I think it's less about Oklahoma and more about saying no to Kansas State and how hard that is / will be for that kid.
Mm-hmm.
So look, end of the day, I honestly believe that kid has seen all that he needs to see. Like I really don't know what more Oklahoma could show him or what more Kansas State could show him. I think it just comes down to the kid having to weigh his options and make a call once and for all, whether that's OU or Kansas State. And, unfortunately, given how torn he is and has been, you can't really put a clock on that. We expected a decision in early to mid-July. Obviously, we're way past that timeline. But the kid's just like, very understandably, he's having a tough time because of all the relationships at Kansas State, but also the prospect of playing big-time SEC ball at Oklahoma and the way that staff and Brandon Hall most specifically has recruited him. So, man, it's just, it almost kind of feels like the Grant Bricks recruitment to an extent. Like, what more do you feel like you need to see or can see? Like, there's not all that much at this point. It's just a case of the kid got to figure out what his priorities are, what he wants, what he's looking for, where he wants to go, and which of the schools he's considering offers him the best chance to do that. And then, he's got to have hard conversations with the schools that he's not going to attend.
Right. No, I'm with you. I for me, it's more of a, in my mind, it's more of a, okay, the easy decision is K-State, right? Like, so why hasn't that decision been made? That's where I'm at. Like, why hasn't that decision been made? And obviously, he's going to visit K-State before he makes a decision. Like, we get that. Everybody gets that. Or maybe he just surprises people and commits to Oklahoma this weekend. You know, there's all sorts of possibilities here. I guess it could happen. Maybe, and that's maybe why he comes down to Oklahoma is to do it in person. Maybe I don't know. I know Oklahoma feels like they have a really good shot, but I think the longer this drags out, the longer K-State now becomes Oklahoma in the Peyton Bowen situation last year. Like, play the long game.
Sure.
And eventually it'll work out in your favor because you're the easy pick. Oklahoma perfected that last year. K-State's trying to one-up them on that. And so that's going to be interesting to watch. I can't imagine this decision lasts longer than October. I think he gets it done before this season even gets going, per se. I think by the end of September, he's probably he has a decision. But I also thought that in August, because that was their original plan. So, and I see people are kind of freaking out a little bit in the chat about CJ Nixon getting the Georgia offer. I'll give you all a little hint. He's going to be in Norman this weekend. So there's that. But he is from Alabama. I think people need to understand that. Like, CJ Nixon is going to be one of those guys that absolutely explodes. That 25 class is going to be let's break this down, Parker. As far as top 250 kids, you're going to have Sperry, Elijah Thomas, Tristan Haynes. You're going to have CJ Nixon, that's 4 in the top 250 from Oklahoma. Who else? Who am I missing here? Oh, you're going to have Nate Roberts, that'd be 5. You're going to have Marcus James, that'll be 6. You're going to have Jaden. Holy crap. Jaden. They could have 7 or 8, possibly 9 guys in the top 250 when it's all said and done. In 2020, in Oklahoma.
That'll play.
In their own state. That's what I think people don't understand. Like, you all think this class in 23 were special? 25 has a chance to be the greatest class Oklahoma's ever had. Top to bottom. Is that hyperbole, Parker? It does. It has a chance. When you have 9 dudes from your own state that could be in the top 250, and if you somehow go 9 for 9 with that, think about all the cherry picking you get to do in the state of Texas, Florida, Georgia, California, Missouri, Kansas, of other top 250 kids. Because almost half your class, at least 40% of your class is from your own state in their top 250. If you all want to see and feel what Alabama and Georgia get every year, that's what it is. That's what it's like. That is what it is. Am I right? Or am I right? That is what it's like to be Alabama and
Georgia. Pretty spot on.
9 dudes potentially in the top 250 when it's all. I think there's like everyone that I just named. Could you see them all be in the top 250, Parker? A lot of them already are.
Yeah, that's true. Like, Oklahoma's already got 7, 8 kids, I think.
7, 8 in the top 250 already. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, certainly.
And
Alex Shieldknight is one of those
chance.
guys that isn't there yet, but he will be.
Marcus James isn't either. Shockingly, I don't get that. Neither is Trinae Washington. And if anybody's watched him the last 2 weeks, oh my God, that dude is special. So it's something, and you know there's going to be other guys that pop up over the next 4 or 5 months that become big household names in the state. This class has a chance. Oklahoma could possibly have 13 dudes when it's all said and done, the way they evaluate and offer in-state kids. from the state of Oklahoma in their 25 class. When was the last time that happened?
You're going back a long way. Probably since before the
2006?
turn of the century.
Maybe 2006. We talked about that. We did this one time on the way. We were driving to New Orleans. Remember that? And we talked about it. We literally went through the lists of their commits. And I think it was like 2006 was the last time they had double-digit Oklahoma kids commit, or at least close to that, more than like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. I know 2017 was really special too, but anyways, all right, we got one super chat here by Crowmine1. Could Dominic McKinley commit impact Terry Bussey? I don't think so. I guess from a momentum standpoint, yes. But from a peer-to-peer standpoint, I don't think so.
Yeah,
they're in two different states, right? But I guess
really
if you choose
the one you're looking
OU
at
over A&M.
Well, and the one if you do get McKinley, the one I think with whom you're looking at momentum coming into play is Williams Nwaneri more so than Terry Bussey because of that positional connection.
Yeah, no doubt. So what's your prediction for this weekend?
Ooh. Let's call it 52-10, Oklahoma.
I had 52-17. That's probably giving Arkansas State too much credit.
Okay, 55. I'll go 55. 55-10.
55-10. Yeah. I got 52-17. Probably giving too much credit for Arkansas State on the scoreboard. But I witnessed 2022, and I'm one of those. I'll believe the defense when I see it. If they only hold them to 10 points and they score 55 points, I don't care who they are. Oklahoma fans and who Oklahoma just beat down, Oklahoma fans have to feel pretty good about that, all things considered, compared to last year. Especially if you notice differences, game management, the defensive line just being dominant, right? Like just different how Oklahoma goes about getting to that win is going to be a very big telltale sign of how Oklahoma fans feel about the team after week 1. So I think week 2 is where it's all going to go down. You're going to find out exactly who Oklahoma is defensively when they play SMU. I don't think that can be disputed. All right. I think that's going to do it, man. We've been on here an hour. Hope everybody enjoyed it. If you're not on OU Insider, VIP, $9, literally a Starbucks. And you can go and get us for a whole month. Give us a try.
How much Starbucks costs these days? Sheesh.
Dude, it's like $7 for a coffee. So yeah, essentially a little more than a coffee. You can go get us for a whole month. Give us a shot. See if you like us. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of OU fans already on there. They're already talking, communicating. We do giveaways. Like right now on OU Insider, every day this week we've already given away 8 tickets for this weekend's game. We're going to give away 4 more tonight, 4 more on Thursday, and 4 more on Friday. So a grand total of 20 tickets given away. So that means you're going to be sitting by on your row other OU Insider members. So y'all can sit there and talk, get to know each other, build a community up, get to know each other. And we're going to do that every week. It may not be 20 tickets every week, but we're going to give, 2, 4, 6 tickets away every week this season. Make sure you guys and show our appreciation to you, the Sooner fans. And I think another thing we're going to do on here, on this live, starting a little later this year, is do giveaways on here. I think that's another thing. Trivia question, first person to answer it, giveaway for certain things. Get people. I want to build this community. I want you all to know that we appreciate you all being on here. As much as y'all giving to us, we want to give back. We don't do this without you guys. And I think that needs to be understood, and we hope you guys do understand that. We feel very blessed to do this. So if you go to OU Insider right now, $9 a month, or you can pay $99.95 and get us for a whole year, which is cheaper. You're going to save $20, in the grand scheme of things. And you're going to get the whole season. You're going to get all the way through National Signing Day, all the way through the second National Signing Day, all the transfer stuff, spring, champion barbecue, all the official visits, party of the palace, all fall camp, right up to this date. Or if you sign up on September 2nd or whatever day you sign up in 2023, that's when it'll end in 2024 at midnight. And you'll have all that. You'll have OU Insider for that long, 12 months for $99.95. And it's worth it. The community's huge. It's awesome. Also, if you're not signed up or subscribing right now, click the bell, notify every time we go live, every time we put up a video, subscribe to this YouTube page. Because we post multiple things a day usually. And you guys want to be all Oklahoma Sooners all the time, recruiting, team stuff, whatever. And then also, obviously, give us 5 stars on the podcast. We would love that. Give us a good review. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We thank you guys so much for being on here with us. And that's going to do it for this OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube live, powered by Olipop. My name is Brandon Drum. For Spencer Forsythe on the keyboard, for Parker Thune, you guys have a blessed night.